Hello, team, and welcome back to another Line War cast. We have a 3v3 game today. On Alpha Team, Tomahawk in blue, Snow Angel in red, and Kartoffelman in orange. And on Bravo Team, Riffraff 757 in teal. Someone said that my nickname sucks in pink, and Desobnerin in green. We can see where Alpha Team is deciding to spawn. It's going to be Tomahawk here in the central location, Kartoffelman in orange in the bottom, and then Snow Angel in the bottom left. On Bravo Team, nickname is going to spawn very close to Tomahawk, so that might be a fight immediately. Riffraff 757 off to the right-hand side, going for a town immediately, and Desobnerin in the top right in green, sitting on a bunch of eco, building a town immediately off this pre-construction money. And it's important to note on this map that there are two trade routes here, indicated by these dotted lines, which could be a lot of economy if Bravo Team can set them up. Bravo Team has a little bit of an advantage in setting up these trade routes, obviously, because nickname is spawned over here to take control of this town and port. Riffraff's already built this town to start this trade route, and then Desobnerin started with two towns immediately, following it up with a barracks and a factory, and there's a transport boat immediately for green here. So potentially green is going to take this boat and send units across to get to nickname's part of the map and possibly support that. Riffraff's going for a second town, also building a farm. This is a good eco boost for teal. And on Alpha Team, Tomahawk's going for 3 factories, all going artillery at the moment. A little bit of a standoff between nickname and Tomahawk here. This will be a very important part of the map that we're going to have to watch. But because it's a choke, it'll be hard for either team to just like push through this as long as there's defensive lines that are dug in. Nickname's going for 4 barracks right along the course, or pardon me, 4 factories right along the coast here with 2 more barracks. We're going to have first contact in this game with the pink and blue infantry getting into it. Both armies supported by some artillery pieces. And vision-wise, this is what Tomahawk can see. So there's Alpha Team can only see that there's 1 factory here for nickname. Because of the number of artillery pieces, there's probably a good guess that there's more factories. We can see now that Alpha Team gets another like a vision exposed of the second factory for nickname because of how many units for blue are here. 4th factory is now done for Tomahawk, so both players here on 4 factories in this choke. Blue's starting to cap to the left-hand side of the map. And Snow Angel's got 2 airports going for bombers at the moment. A town, second town on the way, a farm, and a second farm on the way, and the first refinery for red in anticipation of moving these bombers, which are energy-consuming units. Nickname kind of loses the fight in this little bit, like this choke at the moment, which allows blue to have a huge artillery piece advantage to start. We'll have to see if nickname is going to lose any buildings here. I kind of doubt it, because these mountain ranges are pretty decent defensive locations for nickname, so we might see this pink artillery just dig in. And that's kind of what we're seeing here, or at least the setup for it, with the artillery pieces backing up to the base of the mountain. Push to the right from Kartoffelman with this mix of infantry and artillery. And an airport now for Riffraff. Desobnerin's using this first transport boat to, in fact, move these infantry over to help defend against Tomahawk's aggression on nickname. It's not a super intense situation, but certainly with some green infantry in the mix here, nickname will feel a little bit relieved that Tomahawk won't just like roll them over right away. We're going to see blue and pink probably go at it to cap the left-hand side of the map. It's such an important thing in this game to get eco, and when you capture territories, it grows your eco for you, which you can share with your team, but it allows you to build more buildings, produce more units, just like any other RTS. The first 2 bombers for Snow Angel are on their way. They're going to start shelling these units and factories. There's only 2 SAMs over here for nickname, but they're retreating a little bit so they don't have to fight all this blue artillery. And this is a relatively decent concave for Bravo Team here, with the pink artillery and the green infantry getting in the mix. The bombers are gonna be important here to try to tip the scales in Alpha Team's favor. And we're going to have first contact up in the north between these blue infantry and this pink infantry, fighting for all that territory and all that eco in the top left of the map. So pretty decent fight at the moment. The bombers are going to arrive at any minute now. The blue artillery is thinning out. This allows pink to have the artillery advantage at the moment. But as mentioned before, it'll be difficult for either player to really overrun the other one. First cruiser now for Riff Raff is on its way. Cruisers are great because they can attack artillery pieces on land. They can attack any unit on land, but they're able to go toe-to-toe with these artillery pieces more than, say, like missile boats, which Bravo Team could be building. Disarmamen's got the first cruiser of theirs done. Refinery is now completed for green to keep these boats moving. And we can see the staging area for these green units with the intent to continue to move more of them across. Bombers take out one of the SAMs, so there's no more SAMs here for pink, so nothing to shoot at these bombers at the moment. The cruiser will do a decent job to at least disrupt reinforcements from blue from getting in the fight, because they will have to deal with this boat. And pretty good start to the game. Factory and 2 barracks for Snow Angel off of this 2-town start. Red's nearly capped the entire bottom left of the map. This is going to just be a huge standoff between Riff Raff and Kartoffelman. Something interesting about Line War is the geography really comes into play for how games go. I mean, they're asymmetric maps and they're randomly generated, so every game is a new experience, but units move more slowly through mountain ranges. Infantry get a bonus on both their attack and defense in forests. So you can imagine that it'll be tough for either player to really push through this choke. There's helicopters on the way for Riff Raff. The first one is done. There's a second one being constructed at the moment. And Riff Raff's also got some more towns, or pardon me, another town and some more farms being built, which is great for their economy. Disarmamen's got the port on the way. The port can be built after the town is constructed. This isn't actually the town and port that is connected to the trade route, as mentioned before, indicated by this dotted line. But it doesn't really matter because Nickname hasn't built their end of the trade route as of yet. 3 SAMs trying to fend off all of these bombers. The SAMs can shoot their missiles, but they can't use their machine guns, which is actually most of their DPS. And the bombers get rid of a handful of SAMs. The last one will likely live. But great value that these bombers are getting. One of them goes down, sniped by this SAM. Another cruiser is here to take up this spot. Riff Raff's moved this first cruiser that was over here down to the south, probably just to make sure that it could get into the fight here if Orange decided to try to push through this. There's a depot on the way now for Riff Raff to start storing more of this energy that this refinery is producing. And now it's 2 transport boats in full moving green units across to continue to help Nickname defend against Tomahawk here, with a little bit of Snow Angel infantry mixed in. So a little bit of a 2v2 situation in this central part of the map. Tomahawk is digging in along this mountain range. This is really strong. One thing to note is if blue can somehow block this part of the map off and make it so that Bravo Team can't get to the left-hand side, this is a lot of economy in the top left that Alpha Team will just be able to get for free and propel them further ahead in the game. SAMs in the mountain range are great. We can see the vision for Alpha Team, so the SAMs are totally in vision. The bombers can see them. But it's a decent number of SAMs. They should be able to get another bomber potentially here. And Riff Raff's cruiser helping out, shelling this infantry, who's now on top of this factory. There's a chance that Pink will lose one of the factories here. But now with the second cruiser showing up, it makes it a little bit more difficult for Alpha Team to get that done. Another drop of reinforcements for green landing here includes 1 SAM, which will be really helpful against those red bombers that we keep seeing. Numbers-wise, Snow Angel has 4 bombers completed. A 3rd airport now that is also building bombers. So it's just 3 airports going bombers. There's 2 refineries that Red has, which is enough to move these bombers at the moment. third factory now for red, going artillery pieces exclusively. And pretty decent fight here. Talmach disbands this defensive position. Kartoffelman's infantry is starting to push towards Nickname's base. So Nickname getting a little bit surrounded here. Definitely has lost control of this choke. And this is a non-trivial amount of orange infantry that might be able to just start pushing directly towards Pink's base here. But another very vital reinforcement from these transport boats for green, for which Nickname is probably super grateful. We have the first missile boats for Riff Raff that are stationed right beside these 4 SAMs. The factory for Nickname is destroyed. And the missile boats will be super helpful against this subsequent run of bombers. The bombers are on their way now. And the range of the bombers is one of their biggest strengths. So they can really touch pretty much anywhere up here. They're going to go into the north a little bit. And here they come. So it's going to be 5 bombers, a 6th one on the way against 3 SAMs and 2 missile boats. There's actually 2 SAMs in the north as well for Desobrin, which is super vital. Desobrin's got a missile boat showing up as well to support their team here. And very slowly, Bravo team should be able to hold on here, is what my read on this would be. It's tough for units to push through mountains, as discussed before. And so this final little stretch to get these last buildings for Nickname, it's kind of tough because all this blue artillery has to traverse this mountain range to get at the buildings. A few of the bombers go down, another red bomber will get destroyed, and it does. Unit animations looking fantastic. All thanks to Infenzia, one of the developers of the game. And there's 3 barracks on the left-hand side now for blue, which is really important because it allows blue to build all this infantry that can cap on the left-hand side of the map and make it even more difficult for Bravo team to do anything over there. Nickname's got a sneaky little barracks up here building commandos with their stealth characteristics. And at this point, Desobrin's got across and established a little bit of a base in the north with what's going to be 4 barracks and a factory, which will be super helpful for Nickname once these green units are able to start pushing down towards this choke. Because at this point, red is sending all their units in to help Talmach here in this push. And it's definitely not over yet. What we see is a rocket, a launch pad on the way for orange. Here come these helicopters that Riff Raff has been building, starting to try to take a transport boat to get around this defensive line of all this artillery. This launch pad will take a while to build, but once it does, it can build a rocket, which could be sent into this choke to clear up all these units so orange can just push through. We'll see how that develops. And still a very fierce fight at Nickname's base. Good defensive line of artillery now for Pink. When artillery pieces are in this entrenchment, they get a range bonus. They also get a little bit of a defensive bonus against the shells of blue artillery, of the other team's artillery. But now that red is here in full force with all these production buildings, it's going to be kind of hard for Bravo team to hold on. You can just see that there's way more Alpha team units here than Bravo team units. Desobrin is still sending more units across with these 2 and what's going to be 3 transport boats now. And Nickname must not feel too concerned because they are building this town, which can be protected by Desobrin's units that will naturally flow past this town in order to defend. And we can't really check the ecos. We could, but it's probably relatively close. These helicopters for Riff Raff are probably going to land into these SAMs. They're going right at them. You can see that the visibility of the SAMs is a little bit degraded for Riff Raff just because of that stealth characteristic of units being in mountains and forests. And all those teal helicopters go down. There's only one left. Riffraff's still trying to drop more units behind this defensive line. It'll be interesting to see if Riffraff sees this launch pad. They don't. 3 infantry this close is not enough to show this launch pad, which has a stealth characteristic as itself, like as a building. Launch pads are stealth. And then on top of it, it is built inside of a mountain range. It's a very small mountain, but it's enough to make it so that rocket can't be seen. So Orange will probably have a relatively stealthy rocket that Teal does not see until it's launched. So many artillery for Blue and Red, pushing on nicknames still. But very slowly this green production is coming online. There's another factory up here for Desobnerin, which will be very clutch to try to defend nickname from this artillery blob. Here comes the bombers again, heading off to the north. Probably trying to make it so that Desobnerin can't push to the west of the map. There's now a second barracks up here for nickname, building only commandos. And I mean, the lines are just a mess. You can see there's just so many lines going on. All 6 players doing their best. Port now on the way for Riffraff's town, which will be able to link up to Nickname's port whenever it's built and start this trade route. Desobnerin's got one of the towns on the way, still hasn't built this port, but there is a city now being created for Desobnerin, which is a lot of eco boost for grain. Cruiser being a little bit annoying, shelling these units. The artillery piece does take it out. And now Riffraff's trying to land here on top of all this production for Alpha Team, which is actually a really good call because it does 2 things. It might actually destroy a production facility like this factory, but more importantly, it makes it so that all of these units for Blue and Red have to stop to deal with this infantry, and they can't keep pushing forward, which gives Green and Pink a little bit of time to fend off this attack and then get situated again. This is a lot of commandos that are going to show up for Pink. They're digging in just to make sure that they don't get overwhelmed and spotted. This is Alpha Team's vision, so they can't see these barracks in the forest quite yet. But if we take a top-down look, this is the split. It's pretty much split right side to the left side. Alpha Team taking most of the left side. Bravo Team, of course, taking most of the right side. Alpha Team has more territories, but this impending trade route is going to give a lot of economy for Bravo Team. Nickname's now building this port. The port for Riffraff just complete, so as soon as this port is done, we'll see some merchant ships, which are just cargo ships, moving between these 2 ports. And when they arrive, they give a bunch of money to both the players. Nickname's lost another factory, so Nickname's just on these 2 barracks and a factory at the starting location has actually built a barracks very close to Desobnerin's kind of proxy base here. The rocket for Kartoffelman is actually going to the north. I just assumed it would have gone to the right-hand side, but it goes up here and does a great job to wipe the rest of Nickname's buildings that were at that starting location, so this is going to have to change Bravo Team's plans potentially a little bit. It's very important that Bravo Team keeps this trade route up for all this economy. Desobnerin's actually built this port as well, so as soon as this port is done, there's going to be 2 full trade routes done for Bravo Team, which is going to be a lot of money that hopefully they can turn into a bunch of buildings to hold off this attack. The infantry for Teal has pretty much done its job. It won't be able to destroy this factory. It'll be very close, but I suspect it actually won't go down, and it doesn't. At this point, Nickname's commandos have moved out of their defensive lines. They take out one of Tomahawk's barracks, and now they're on the loose here, roaming. Blue is going to start making their own commandos. Commandos have a stealth characteristic to them, and so the units that can really spot stealth units are commandos, submarines, and interceptors are the best at doing that. So it's important that Blue start building commandos so that they can actually see these Pink commandos on the other team, which is exactly what we're seeing. A mining site now for Tomahawk, for more economy for Blue. Then a very wide front along this mountain range. If red and blue can take control of this mountain range and then potentially dig in here, it's very difficult for Bravo team to then regain control of this mountain range. We've seen how long in this game it took Alpha team to actually push through this position for Bravo team because they had that defender's advantage in the mountains. And then of course if Alpha team can actually get in that same position, it'll be just as hard for Bravo team to push through it again. First transport boats, or pardon me, cargo ships, merchant ships, are done for Bravo team. So as mentioned, once they get to this other port, they drop off their cargo, which is really just money for both players. And we'll see if Kartoffelman's rebuilding another rocket. They are. It's 2/3 of the way done. We're likely going to see this rocket now used on the right-hand side here because the rocket range is probably just about here. And there's a huge risk of the rocket just friendly firing all of these blue and red artillery pieces. It's now 5 factories in this northern little proxy base for Desobnerin. But again, importantly, these merchant ships are actually moving now for Bravo team, which is a lot of income. Snow Angel is garrisoned a few infantry here at the drop-off point for all these teal units. So very difficult LZ for the teal units. Essentially, the second they land, they're going to be attacked by that dot of infantry. And this is going to slowly become a problem for Bravo team, especially if this town and port is destroyed, because it will immediately stop all of these merchant ships from moving and knock out a bunch of that economy. Nickname does a decent job over here with the commandos. They will get taken out though. 3 barracks for Pink is really the only unit producing structures that Pink has at this point, besides this 1 barracks nestled in amongst the Sobnerin's base. When you lose your buildings, all of your buildings in line war, you're knocked out of the game. So it's really nice for Pink to have this barracks here because it makes it that much more difficult to knock Pink out of the game, because Alpha team would actually have to be able to take on all of Green's army in order to get at this barracks. And we still haven't seen tanks in this match. Probably makes sense, there's so much mountains and forest, and tanks really thrive in open fields. But once Alpha team gets through this mountain range, it'll be interesting to see if they do transition to tanks to potentially push this last little bit into Desobnerin's base. It's all artillery pieces out of these factories for Green. And here comes another rocket, and it's to the right-hand side. It's going to drop right on this defensive line. It will destroy all the SAMs, all the artillery pieces, and as we sort of expect, here comes the push from Orange now. And this is an important moment because Riff Raff is going to have a lot of trouble holding this off. Riff Raff is building a launch pad of their own, but we saw how long this launch pad for Orange took to build in order to get a rocket that was able to be used. And so I don't think that Riff Raff's rocket is going to be done in time, unfortunately for them. And a lot of barracks over here for Tomahawk in this mountain range. Desobnerin and Nickname are trying their best to break through this, but with bomber support, it's going to be very unlikely that Blue is going to lose any of these barracks. Nickname is rebuilding their base up in the top left, going for helicopters out of this airport and a factory. It's kind of nice for Pink. They have a refinery right beside all those buildings. Helicopters being an energy-consuming unit, so they would need that energy. And a great concave from Blue and Red with these artillery pieces. And so many bombers now for Snow Angel. There's a chance that one of Alpha teams, like either Snow Angel or Tomahawk, could build a forward airstrip to start putting these bombers on so that the bombers could definitely reach Desobneren's base here. We'll see if that becomes a thing. But now Kartoffelman is also sending artillery pieces up through this choke. And now big landing from Desobneren, who's going to open up a new front. And this is the plan. We can. The cool thing about Line War replays is you can really see what the players' thought processes are. It's going to be 4 transport boats that are going to land a bunch of green units kind of between Snow Angel and Kartoffelman's base, and then head immediately down towards this refinery. And at the very least, there'll be a great scout from Desobneren. Here comes this orange artillery blob. This is so many units, there's no way that Riffraff is going to be able to defend this without a lot of helicopters. And even then, there's a good amount of SAMs for orange here in the mountain range that make it difficult for any air units to get anything major done. The rocket is now on the stand for Riffraff. It's a third of the way done. And very slowly, maybe Desobneren is holding on here. It's kind of hard to tell. This next group of units from orange, blue, and red, I know my colors. This is going to be a lot of force that Alpha team is bringing here. 4 missile boats are heading up towards the town to try to help defend it, and these units have now landed for orange. The one problem for Desobneren here is that this is a very long transit time for all of these green units to actually get here, and the bombers are dispatched super quickly by Snow Angel to deal with this. We're seeing just how long it takes artillery pieces to move through the mountains. They're also kind of derping out because they're in a huge blob. Helicopters show up. The SAMs aren't quite in range. Helicopters, when they hover, they do a lot of DPS, especially on artillery units. But the SAMs are now getting in position. And this many SAMs against this many helicopters, the SAMs will have an edge. They get 1, they get 2, the third one gets home back onto the airport. A very tough situation for Bravo team. Super outnumbered at this point with the artillery numbers. Now that Kartoffelman is here with this orange artillery, the town will go down, it just depends when. And here comes Nickname building some tanks. Tanks and helicopters out of pink. 2 factories going tanks. Tomahawk's trying to move around the north. And this is now Blue's vision, so it's very obvious to Alpha Team now that this is where Nickname has rebuilt their base. Commandos with their great vision see everything. And the town is very injured. Without a rocket from Bravo Team, there's no real way to deal with this blob besides a lot of air units or tanks. Tanks are also very good against artillery blobs when they're in great enough numbers. Kartoffelman has finished their 3rd rocket of the game. Riffraff's rocket is 2/3 of the way done. Desobneren also has a rocket on the way, but it's 1/3 of the way done. Now this town and port has been destroyed. We can see that this merchant ship just sits in the water at this point. And Pink's pulled up a bunch of infantry to help out these green artillery pieces. It seems like Bravo Team is going for the push at this moment. The lines don't really tell you anything except for Line War's hectic in a team game. I mean, in all modes of games, but especially when there's 6 people drawing lines all over the map. Tanks moving out now. The commandos in the defensive line, super good for Pink to defend the main base. But it's only 1 refinery that Nickname has. There's a 2nd airport on the way. Building helicopters. But 2 factories producing tanks and 2 airports producing helicopters. That's a lot more energy producing units than 1 refinery can really handle. And there was a rocket, and I don't know where it was launched. Clearly I've missed this. My apologies. Riffraff has their rocket finished now. If it were to launch at this army, it's pretty much the minimum range that a rocket can go. And certainly a very difficult position for Bravo team to come back from at this point. We could check the economies if we want. Blue is at 917 income. Red is at 634. Orange is at 484. Here comes this rocket. It is dropping min-range. Pretty good hit. Very good placement from Riffraff. It destroys that moving orange army towards their base. Riffraff's at 814 economy. Nickname is at 300 some odd economy and 1064 for Desobrin, who has the most economy in the game at the moment. Leading Tomahawk just by a little bit. But unfortunately for Nickname, they're getting a little bit overrun. There's no SAMs up here for Alpha Team, so the helicopters from Nickname are going to be pretty clutch. But as soon as this refinery is sniped, which it looks like it is going to, all these helicopters are going to be grounded. There's no more energy for Pink to run these things. And great play from Alpha Team to take out Nickname's base. Great rocket from Desobrin, which clears the, you know, the fist of this pushing force from Alpha Team, but there's a lot more units where that came from. And Alpha Team will continue to push. Kartoffelman starts to dig in here, building another rocket. So is Riffraff. And Desobrin's rebuilding a rocket immediately as well. That's it. Desobrin GG's. So now it's a 3v2 situation. Riffraff and Nickname versus Tomahawk, Snow Angel, and Kartoffelman. We've seen how in team games, once you lose a player on your team, it's very difficult for your team to come back. Economically, the other team usually has more money, which means more units, more production structures. GG. Well played by all six. I hope you enjoyed that video. This is Line War. That was a 3v3. We can check out the graphs. Bravo team a little bit ahead on both income and empire value. Well played. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed that video. For folks that are not watching this on YouTube, youtube.com/@SodaQuackers. I do casts on there, some other Line War content. Check it out. Twitch.tv/SodaQuackers as well. If you want to watch some gameplay, come hang out. Chat. The Line War Discord is a fantastic resource if you want to learn more about the game. If you'd like to find matches in the Looking for Matches channel in the Discord. Very helpful, folks. Otherwise, hope you have a wonderful night, day, evening, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever it is for you. We'll see you around. Good luck, have fun. Peace.